Welcome, welcome, welcome to Organize Your Google Life with Jen. We know we need this. Don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed. We all need to organize our Google Life, and that's what we're here for today. So let's go through some very quick announcements. I am Dr. Desiree Alexander, your host for today. I am the founder, CEO of Educator Alexander Consulting, and we do webinars. Used to be once a month. Now it's pretty much every doggone weekend, and I love it. So this is how you can contact me for anything. If you want to do a webinar, I'm about to schedule a whole bunch of them next week for people that said, I want to do one. So if you want to do one, definitely go ahead and contact me or contact me for anything else. Maybe just to say hello. I'm okay with that. I would love that. Webinars we have coming up next weekend. If you were here in November, you saw the kickoff of our mindfulness series, which was just 2 hours of amazingness. All of these are going to be 1 hour, and the first one starts next weekend. A new year, a new you, self-care for resiliency. And if you're like, dang it, I missed the November one, that's okay. You can get it. They're all on the YouTube channel. And then we have this lovely person. I don't know. She just looks so beautiful. I don't know. I just want to stare at her picture all day long. And she's going to be talking about getting interactive with Google Slides. So if you know Google Slides, you're like, okay, all Google Slides do, they just present stuff. Oh boy, are you wrong. There's so many things you can create with Google Slides. So I will be talking about that in February. Now, those are the only ones we have scheduled right now because, again, I'm scheduling like 1 million of them next week. So definitely be on the lookout. There's going to be 1,000 more webinars this year coming at you, even in February. So keep a lookout. I'm just beginning February. The rest will have some coming up. So keep that in mind. I will give you an evaluation at the end for those people who are watching us live. I'm going to post it 15 minutes before the session ends. And you may be like, stupid Desiree, I see the link. The link is not active, folks. It's not active until I make it active. And I will say that those who are watching on YouTube, unfortunately, you do not get a certificate, but you do get the knowledge, and all of the resources and anything else will be right under the video when you click show more to see the description. You have everything that everybody else has.
bit.ly/EDUA. So Alexander, you got that. So that's if you want to follow along. I link out to a lot of things, a lot of like further resources and stuff. If you want more information, or if I talk about like an extension, a lot of times I'll link out to that extension or that website. If we have time, there's some videos I'll show you within this. If we don't have time, I'll skip the video, but you can always watch it later. So that's why it's linked there. So I'm just, everything is in here. And that's hopefully helpful. Hopefully a good thing. Whew. Now, my computer is being a total bear today. It's being a little slow. So be patient with me, but right now it all seems good. So fingers crossed. So my agenda, things that I want to go through today is things you can do in Google Chrome, Drive, Gmail, Classroom, Keep, Slides in Google Draw, and then talking a little bit about graphics to organize your life, to make things flow more improvedly. I don't know. Make things better. Increase your productivity. Your workflow is improved, and everything feels better because every little thing you can do is better. Dr. Desiree is monitoring the chat because I am only on one screen. I decided I was going to simplify my life and ditch my second screen. So I'm not actually like viewing the chat here as I do this. So also, if you have a tip for something in addition to what I say and you want to drop that in the chat, please do as well. I like to be interactive, and there's no ego here like I know it all. In fact, I feel like I don't know much. So hopefully you can get something out of this that is useful to you. So anyways, let's get going. You know what? I should probably tell you a little about myself, right? Why don't I have my beginning slide in here? My name is Jen. I'm in the Chicago suburbs right now. I am a Google trainer, a Google trainer 1 and 2, and a Google innovator. So that's all my Google stuff. That's why I do the Google stuff. Right now, I'm actually a K-5 librarian in the Chicago suburbs, but I was a visual arts teacher and a technology teacher at the middle school level. I've been teaching for about 20 years. So that's all my stuff. Oh, the big news, my big claim to fame was I was a finalist for Illinois State Teacher of the Year last year. I did not win, which sometimes is a blessing in disguise. But so those are all the things that, you know, people generally, they're like, yay, that's the thing. So the first thing I want to talk about though is Chrome. So, because we're all on the internet all the time, and how can you make things look better? And one of the things that I like to do is I have a lot of bookmarks. In fact, if you're because you're looking at my whole screen right now, you can see my actual bookmarks here up on the top. So when I tell you this stuff, it's because I actually use it, not just because I think it's like a cute idea. It really is. These are skills and things that work for me. So the first thing I do, you may or may not utilize this already or know about it, but is that you can take your bookmarks and you can completely shorten them, removing the text altogether by right-clicking on an icon and editing your bookmark. So if I'm up here, I know that Twitter is the little Twitter bird. I don't need it to say Twitter next to it. So if I right-click on it, I will get a pop-up menu that says edit, and then I can go in and I can delete that name. I could change it to a different name, you know, whatever works for me. Sometimes you can just shorten the name. You can fit more bookmarks on your bookmarks bar. Then the other thing that I do is I do click and drag to reorder my bookmarks, because this was even before the home edit came out. I was putting mine in rainbow order. So I'm a rainbow hipster, okay, before it was cool. So that's another thing that I do. I have a thing for color coding my icons, and then also shortening them, as long as I know what the favicon is. Why have all that extra text? Sometimes I do have to keep them because I don't know what they are. So that is a thing. All right. Also, within your bookmarks bar, you can actually save folders to your bookmarks bar. So in my, you're actually looking at two different browsers right now. The one that I have on the presentation is my stuff from work. The one you're looking at now is more my personal, so there's overlap, but that's why you see different things here. But for work, for example, I have a folder in my bookmarks bar just for my district. And then when I click on it, then it expands all the things that I need for school. All the logins you have, all of your gradebook systems and your student identification systems, and then your tech help tickets, and then your home pages and all that stuff. So I just put that all under one folder, and that makes it easier for me to get to stuff. In my, you can see I have ones here too in my real life outside of work as well. So if I have multiple bookmarks that apply to one thing, putting that in a little folder in your bookmarks bar makes life easier. So some of these tips I'm telling you are going to be really obvious to you. You're going to be like, yeah, I do that. I already know that. Some of them might not be, but because we all come from a different place, a different starting point, things that might seem obvious to you are not always to other people. And some of these things, when I found them out, it was like within the last year, and I was like, oh, how did I not know this? So just because it seems obvious, it's not always. So you can drag and drop to reorder your bookmarks. You can also drag and drop to reorder extensions. So when you add extensions in Chrome, they're all next to your address bar, and you get a lot of them. Well, we now have this puzzle piece that you can click on, and it drops down, and you can pick and choose and customize which extensions you even want to show up there. And that's just by clicking the, what would we call this, the little push pin to keep the extension up so you see it all the time. So some extensions kind of work in the background and you don't really need them like as a little icon, or some of them you have because you tried them out and you don't want to delete them, but you don't really use them. You could have those ones hide under the puzzle piece, but the ones that you want, keep those up with the pin, but then you can drag and drop and reorder them in case you want to put them in rainbow order like I do. If you're a giant nerd like me, that's how I kind of refer to it. All right, the other thing, this was the one that I just learned recently, and I was like, oh my gosh, how did I not know this? You can also drag and drop your waffle, AKA your app launcher. So up in the corner of Google where you have like your account that you have, and then right next to it you have, we love to call it the waffle because of the little 9 squares there. You can drag and drop your icons. So you put the ones you use the most right up at the top. So I wasn't even really using my waffle that often. And then when I found out you could do that, I was like, it's so convenient. And it really was like, wow, that makes so much sense, but it works. So yeah, put the ones you need up on the top, move the ones you don't, and life is beautiful. All right, so those were my Google Chrome kind of little helpful hints. Now I want to talk a little bit about Google Drive, because this is something that has the tendency to get way overloaded. And even when you organize it, it gets overloaded again. It's just a thing we deal. First of all, if you didn't know about changing the view grid versus list, this is a personal preference thing. I am team grid view because I think, because I'm so visual and I'm, you know, the art teacher in me and stuff, I need to see like the thumbnails and the little folders and things. Some people live for the list. No judgment. You use the one that works for you, but you can, you know, use the one that works, set it to that, because sometimes you may not have known, oh, I could change it to a list. Whoa, what? So that's the thing. Think about how you want to display it. Then once you have that figured out, come on, slide, there we go. I like to do things to customize my folders in order to make them more visible as well. So for example, if you put an emoji in front of your folder name, it bumps it to the top of the alphabet and it moves it to the top of your Google Drive. So I always have a folder with whatever school year it is, so 2021, and I will put an emoji in front of it because I access that folder all the time. So it is helpful to have that at the top. You know, I have fun, I put a different emoji on it each year, it's a different theme. And then that actually got me thinking, like, how are emojis alphabetized? So I actually did some deep diving, and there is a link here that takes you into like a list of how emojis are. So if you really want to get like I put an emoji on it, but it's in front of the other one and I want to move those back, you know, wouldn't it be great if you just drag and drop, but you can't. You can use this to like further customize if you're super anal about it like I am. If you don't know how to utilize the emojis, if you're on a Mac, there is a keyboard shortcut. There are tactics to doing emojis on Chromebooks. There's actually a lot of different ways to do it. It's just finding the one that works for you. I actually use, I'm Mac and Windows and Chromebook and iPad. We use all the things at my work. But one of my favorite things is this extension, the Emoji Keyboard by Joy Pixels. So that's what I'm using here in this GIF. I like to, you just click on it up in the corner. You could actually, it's here on my screen. I don't know if you guys see when I click on this, if it pops up, if that's something that gets shared or not. In fact, it's not even popping up right now because my computer's so slow. But that's what happens. This pops up, you search for the emojis you want, and then it's as simple as copy and paste. I've also used websites like Emojipedia and stuff, and you just copy and paste from there as well. So that works. Dr. Alexander, how's the chat going? Because I just realized I'm like talk, and I don't really pause. Are we doing
We are
okay?
going well. We had a couple of questions. I went ahead and answered those. And just for the emoji, I just put a tip that on the PC and the Chromebook, if you click inside where you actually want to type and you right click, you may just see an option for an emoji right there. It's actually being added to your list.
Oh, dang. This needs to be updated. All right. Were there questions on there I need to get to?
Nope, you are good. We are loving it.
Sweet. So one of the things I tell my kids all the time is that, like, utilize your right click when you're kind of, I'm pretty much self-taught with technology, and I learn a lot just by clicking around and trying things. So when you right click on stuff, you get so many options. So for example, when we're using our bookmarks, it allows us to customize our bookmarks. In Google Drive, it allows us to customize our folders and things. So there's a lot of options we don't have in other places. So one of the things that I do, come on, slide deck, you want to move ahead. There we go. Is not only do I utilize the emojis, but I utilize color coding as well. And that is done through the right click magic is what we'll call it. You can color code. So you see here, I went so far as to actually do the whole rainbow order thing because nerd. But sometimes you can color code by things that are relevant to you. Like my school colors are blue and white. So I would use blue for, you know, school stuff. You know, my favorite color is purple. So I would want to use purple for, you know, maybe family stuff. So you can come up with your own method for doing things, you know, or red is for really important or, you know, something like that. If you put a space before the file name, it also bumps it to the top of the order. I thought there's no way that works, and I tried it out and it did work. So unless there's been an update, you know, that was a thing too. Go figure. So yeah, utilize your right click because it allows you to rename your folder, put in those emojis, and then also change your color coding as well. So I love utilizing the color coding for something that works for me. And then the other thing, because I've been talking a lot about how to bump your folder to the top of the list, another thing you can do that I utilize on top of those other things is using your starred items on a folder in Google Drive or on a file in Google Drive. You can star the item. So when you right click on it, you could give it a star. And then when you're in your Google Drive, there is actually a section in the sidebar, if you haven't noticed it, it's right below recent, that says starred. So I like to do that when I'm going to give a presentation, because you're always like, you have all these resource files and things, and then your actual slide deck that you want to present with. You're like, I don't want to forget that when I'm in the moment. So I will star it so that it's there. And then after the presentation is over, I can unstar it and it stays where you're saving it. It just gives you like a shortcut to it. So it's a great, like, you can use it temporary or you can use it more regularly. Like I will also star my folder for that year where I put all my assignments and things. So I have some things that sit there forever, or I have a master list of all the teachers' Zoom links because I'm a specials teacher. So I need to access that every day. You know that's starred so I can get to it. So that's one thing to do. The other thing you could do is you could utilize those bookmarks by grabbing the link for your folder in Google Drive and then putting it as a bookmark up in the top too. So I know you might be thinking like, well, this is like 5 different ways of doing the exact same thing and making it easier to find. Maybe that's too much for you, or maybe you're like me, where you need those 5 ways so that when you're having that brain fart and you can't figure out how to get there, you're like, oh, there it is, there it is, there it is, there it is. So I have it like everywhere. Because my students like to tell me like, well, I don't need to bookmark it because I have the tab saved or something. And I'm like, okay, you do you, but I'm saying that I would have it also bookmarked. So that's just the thing. I do teach these things to my students when I was doing middle school and they were having Chromebooks and they were kind of working on organization as well. We would talk about like how to shorten your bookmarks and how to like make things easier to find. Did they always remember it? Did they always use it? Meh, yes and no. But for the kids that it worked for, it really works for. So it's worth kind of like taking the time to mention these things and teach these things to students. And then my last item here, this is probably a gift that's not opening up quite yet, is to remember that in Google Drive, you know, you have everything organized, you have everything color coded, you know, you think you've got things in a pretty good way, but then inevitably you forget and you can't find something. Remember that your Google Drive also has this super powerful search function. So if you're searching for something and you know that it's a picture, you can narrow down your search to just photos and images. If you know you're looking for a folder, you can search just for folders. So here I'm doing an image search, video. I know it's an image, but maybe it's not all under my folder, or maybe it's a file that got shared with me or something. You can do it by, you know, if it's a shared file, you can search just in shared drives. If you know that it's just your file, you can search just there. If you know who the owner is. So you can narrow down a lot of those things. And I think that that's helpful. And I think we just forget that sometimes. We're like, I can't find that thing and it's not within the last week, so it's not in recent. You know, you can use that search to kind of narrow it down too. All right. I'm going to move on to Gmail then. How are we doing, Dr. Desiree? Are we good? Chat questions?
We are good.
Yay. Okay. So I'm going to move on to Gmail. A lot of my tips for Drive are similar when you applied to Gmail, but instead of things being like folder color coding, it has to do with your labels in Gmail. So you can color code your labels in Gmail. So for example, my school is called Jefferson. Our colors are blue. And in order to find it, I put the heart emoji in front of it so it bumps it to the top of the list, because that's going to be my everyday life is stuff from Jefferson. That's my school. So that is one of the things that I use to kind of customize and accentuate and kind of emphasize the things that I need and that I use the most. The other thing that you can do is these labels in Gmail, you can actually show or hide them. So if you find yourself like, oh, I just have way too many of these labels right now and this is a lot to look at, you can actually hide that label and it goes under more. So I don't know if you've noticed before, but if you scroll down your labels in Google Mail, in Gmail, if you scroll down, when you get to the end of your alphabetized list of labels, it says more. And then there's like some other ones. And in case you're like, well, how does something get there versus in the other list? It's based on that show or hide thing. So you can actually have it. So if you're like, oh, this is from 2 years ago when we had that evaluation, you can hide those things without having to get rid of them. And that's pretty helpful. You can also do sub-labels. So you can have a label, like, for example, there's one here that says 2019, 2020. I could have 2019, 2020, you know, parent emails, just the stuff from parents. And I could label that and I could sub-label it underneath, which is weird. So you can get really in depth with this if you want to. But what that does by using all those labels is not only does it help you you know, just visually with kind of sorting through stuff, but it helps with your search then label. It helps with your search then later if you need to go in and find stuff because you have it labeled under certain categories. All right, what do I have next here in my slow slides? I was wondering about that. So I will actually not show this video because based on the slowness of my computer, I don't know if it can handle it. But pardon me. This is a video that I actually show to my students for an actual assignment. And I'm sharing it with you because I think it's helpful to adults as much as it is helpful to students. If you don't know how to use email filters, which basically means I get an email from Google Classroom. They're annoying. I don't want to turn them off because I might need it, but they're really kind of filling up my inbox. You can set a filter that says all, you know, messages from Google Classroom. I want you to label those Google Classroom. I want you to skip the inbox and I want you to just put them in a folder labeled Google Classroom Alerts or something like that. You can automate that through filters. I teach it to my students not only for Google Classroom Alerts, I teach it to them for things like if I want to automatically label notices from the library about overdue notices, or if I want to automatically label things for my band or orchestra teacher so that I don't miss that step. You know, it just kind of automatically categorizes it for them, and it doesn't always have to skip the inbox. It could just be a way that it auto labels things, and then you can just select the labels and like archive or sort accordingly. It's just another little thing that kind of helps out. So if you're not familiar with how find your words, Jen. If you're not familiar with how filters work, this is definitely worth checking out. All right, and then I have been playing around in Gmail with like the layouts and the settings too to kind of see what works for me. And I have varying needs over time and things that have changed. So originally, I didn't use any of the tabs. I didn't want them, they were confusing to me, I got rid of them, everything went into one inbox. And then just recently, I sort of went into my settings. So again, the settings gear, and then you can see all settings. You have these options of using like the promotions and the forums tab. Now, I still don't know how I feel about all of them because sometimes things still don't always line up. You know, the AI doesn't always categorize things correctly, but over time with me kind of teaching it and moving stuff around, it's gotten better. But this is something where if you find yourself getting a lot of emails, like I get a tons of promotional emails because when you go to conferences, they sign you up for everything. I've had a lot of luck with the promotions tab. Like I don't lose it because maybe you need to go back later, or you get something that you were like, oh, it was mass emailed, but there really was like an actionable thing I had to do. All of those emails automatically go to your promotions tab, and then primary tab, hopefully it's just like from real people that you need stuff from. But it's a good way to kind of sort it out. If you're getting like 100 plus emails a day and you're trying to get through them all, it's a good way to kind of sort that. And then forums is for if you belong to like Google groups, or example, like LinkedIn and stuff, they'll send you like your daily digest and things. Those get filtered into the forums tab as well. So every so often you do want to go in and just kind of check them and give a little visual to it. But it's a good way to kind of help eliminate that like email overload and like kind of anxiety that happens sometimes. And then I think this is my last fun email trick. Again, this is a project that I did with my students. This is an assignment. So this video that you can watch shows you how to create a custom Gmail email signature that shows up every time, that has your photograph or another image of some sort, maybe a logo for a business or something. And then next to that, all of your text information, maybe some links or things like that. How to set up one of those signatures. If you've seen people that have them before, they have like their badges in there and stuff, you're like, that's cool, how do I do that? It's actually quite simple. I used to have my students do it where it would have their student photo and then it would have their name, grade level, homeroom teacher, and then I would have them do like a fun fact or a motto or a favorite quote or something. And the goal of that was that when students would send their teachers an email, like me, I had a picture to go with the name, so a name and a face, because my student emails are all just ID numbers. And then I knew where to go find them if I needed them, like who their homeroom teacher was. So I knew, you know, oh, they'll always be there in the morning because that's their homeroom teacher. So it kind of helped me if I had to reply to students. So yeah, that's just a helpful thing. But I use it too professionally. I actually use this trick here where I set up my email signatures. Again, I won't make you watch the whole thing. I think it's like 3 minutes. But Some of you may already know this, some of you may not. This is like bonus content you can go check out later. But that's another thing for Gmail that not only makes my life easier, but it makes the people that you communicate with, makes their life easier too. All right. Oh, and it's going to autoplay, isn't it? Come on. Nope. Also, that's a 5-minute video, not a 3-minute video. I'm sorry. I think I went, nope. Sorry. Technical things. Now I got the spinning wheel. Give me a sec, friends. All right. Then we're going to move on to Google Keep. Dr. Desiree, are we good with Gmail? Is there anything I need to talk about? Or
No, I think we are good. We just got a question, so I'll go ahead and ask it to you because I haven't even had time to read it. Some of my emails from meetings, no reply at google.com, go to spam folder. Can I change that to go to my inbox?
If something is in your, I think you have to catch it when it's in your spam folder first, but then once you see it, you can tell it like, this is not spam and don't do this for future emails. Dr. Alexander, does that sound familiar to you, or do you have a better suggestion?
Yeah, if it's in the spam, you can mark it as not spam, but then sometimes they still put it in the spam. So you can even create a filter that says, I want those to go directly into my inbox. So that may help you as well.
And then I know sometimes I've had that happen with parent emails where like a parent email went to spam that shouldn't have, and you caught it afterwards. If I go in and I add them to my contacts, I make them like an actual contact, that's supposed to help it too in the future. So if there's one that you know over and over, like make it an official contact in like your address book. And that should, fingers crossed.
And I will say, Jen, we're having some Keep excitement. So I think they're about to love this part.
Okay, well then I will try to play this this video then. So even though I'll skip other videos, we'll try this one. This is a tip I did with the GEG North Texas. Let's just see if it's gonna work. One of the things that I have done is I have created these Google Keep headers, which are actually just an image that's put at the top of a Google Keep note. So let me show you. This is a Google Slides file. And actually this is publicly available, so you can actually use these files, and I'll put the link in here for you. But you would click on the picture that you want to use, and on that slide you go to File, Download, PNG file, and then when I go into Google Keep, I can go in and create a new note with an image, grab that file, and when I open it up, you'll see that this shows up. Any image you put in a Google Keep note shows up at the top of the image. And then I can do whatever I want as far as like adding in, you know, check boxes. First day, intro. And then I might put, or something like that. But that would be like my grading list. Now, the other thing that I like to do is I go into this little palette here, and I like to coordinate because, I don't know, I'm super nerdy, I guess. But when I close this note, you can see it actually shows up down below, but I like to pin the ones that I use the most up at the top here, so you can see how that kind of works. And one of the things I also really like to do using Google Keep then is I can open up my email, and on the side here, let me move myself out of the way, but on the side here, you can actually expand this sidebar by clicking on Google Keep. So when I'm at work and I have my emails that I have to answer, I can also have my running list of like things that I have to do kind of on the side, and it creates this like command center for me. So I have like my to-do list, my emails, and all of those things that I need. And I think it's super cool, super helpful, and yeah, maybe that works for you too. So check it out. Thank you. All right, so I'll give you that link again because I know you're like, what's the link to the banners? And then I'm always updating those banners too because I get requests. So it's like a link that I've just always kept open. So Google Keep, I really like. Oh, I hit the full screen button here. Get back, Jen. There we go. Here's the link: bit.ly/GK headers. If you are following along in the slide deck, this should actually be linked to the exact file. So I really like Google Keep. If you haven't used it before, you might be like, what's Google Keep? It's another thing that I use to stay organized. I like that it syncs across, you know, your devices. So if I'm on my Mac, or I'm on my Windows machine, or I'm on my Chromebook, or I'm on my phone, I can access my Google Keep notes from anywhere. I can take a note and I can share it from my personal Gmail account to my work Gmail account, so I can have like a grading to-do list. I can actually have it shared. Why am I doing that? I should be keeping my stuff separate so I'm not overworking myself. But as I'm saying this, I'm like scolding myself. But you could, in theory, share your personal email with your professional email so that you can see your what to do grading list and feel guilty about it from everywhere you go. Yeah, that's a whole nother presentation. In fact, I think that's the next one, right? Self-care, I think, is coming up, Dr. Desiree.
It sure is.
I need to go to that. Yeah.
And we do have a question for you.
Yeah.
That I could not answer. So I was like, oh, I'm going to ask. Does do the headers show up on the Keep app?
They usually, yes, they do. In fact, I will open, I have the Keep app on my phone, and I can show y'all, because they are just images.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it's an image note. So it does actually work on the phone. I have had weird glitchy times where I've logged in and it's not showing up, but 99% of the time, yes, it's supposed to work. So yeah, it does. Yeah, so these are the headers that I made. And honestly, like, let's go to it and just talk about it for a second, because it's ridiculously easy. It's not like you need this special file or anything. This is Google Slides, and I literally just made graphics on Google Slides that I download as JPEGs, and then I just insert a JPEG into my Google Keep note. That's like the short part of it. Is all it is it's just a slide image that I made. The reason these look fancy is because I like to draw on my iPad, which I will actually right at the very end. I'll talk about that if you're interested. So people always say, well, what's this font that you have here? This is my handwriting. I draw it, then I export it as a transparent thing, and I bring it in. So I do a lot of that extra nerdy work. I don't expect you to do that, which is why I'm just sharing mine with you. But that's what this is over on the side here, going through all these things. So in case
we ask, what is the size of your Google Slides for
Vanna? Yeah. Do I have it? I either have it here or I have it at the end. It might be at the end. I thought I saved it. Use the following. Oh, here. Very last one, if my computer will open it up. 16:6 page setup. And then these are just ideas if you want to make your own, because believe it or not, this was also an assignment I did with my kids. I used Google Keep as an assignment. Let's see if I show it. It might be the next. Oh, this is the thing I just talked about, putting it on the side of the Gmail sidebar. But, all right, I'll come back. I'm going to jump ahead on purpose because I want to show you here. I did this as a project with my students. I had them actually make an assignment notebook in Google Keep, and they had to create their own like headers for the subjects and things. And then the way that I like graded it and collected the work was they just had to take a screen grab of their Keep screen, and they had to put it in Google Classroom so I could see it. So regardless of whether or not they used it, it was kind of a cute beginning of the year, beginning of the term kind of activity for them. So they would do things for like their different subject areas. They would do them for like maybe their extracurriculars, you know. So they just had to, whether or not they used it was, you know, another point after that, but it was just giving them another tool for success and how to organize their stuff. So that template that I gave to you guys where I said, oh, 16:6, insert the things, that's what I actually gave to my students, was I gave them a template like that too and had them create their own headers. Okay, I said I would go back to my other Keep things. All right, yeah, open Keep in your sidebar. So this was really helpful. Well, I guess this would work when we're remote too, but in person for sure. You had all your emails you're trying to like get at and like swatting flies all day, but then you also had your running to-do list. And if you use the check boxes, you can check them off from right there on the side. So that was kind of nice. And if you want, there is an extension called Category Tabs for Google Keep. And that allows you to sort new and existing notes by category. And the categories are done by color, and it labels them. So even though Google Keep has its own like labeling and filtering system, you could further organize through colors and giving those colors specific topics as well to use. So it depends. This is like extensive on top of everything else, but it's there if you want. My other trick here is to right click, again, right click magic. You can pin your Keep tab up in the corner if that's something that you find all the time and you want it to be accessible. So using that right click.
Jen, what grade levels are you using Keep with?
The assignment notebook project I did in middle school. So that's 6th through 8th. So I don't know that I would do it in, now I'm at elementary this year. I don't know that I would do it at elementary because I don't think they have a need for it as much, because everything's pretty much in one Google Classroom, you know? Whereas like in middle school, they're dealing with like multiple classes, multiple teachers. And I think I think that's something they struggle with, like, because that's something then that we have all the rest of our lives is how do we balance all those things going on? So yeah, it would be great for high school as well. I think it would be especially useful in high school, but yeah, I did it in middle school. So key things we went over were color coding, header graphics, drag and drop reordering. So like other things, you can drag and drop them where you want, pinning notes at the top, labeling, and then the category tabs extension. Jen Hall actually gave me a tip in a Keep session about she saves her favorite Bitmoji in Keep, particularly like the seasonal ones. And then she uses them to drag and drop into apps. And she said that they retain their transparent background then when she does that. So I was like, oh, that's super cool. So I always want to make sure that I share that with everybody too. I'm like, that's a good idea for it. All right, and then I did the assignment notebook with my students. And now let's talk about Google Classroom. So I'm going to move on from Keep. Please, 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 because I do get questions about Keep afterwards. Don't hesitate to reach out to me, like on Twitter, either to show me your Keep if you set it up. That's one thing I like to see it, show it off. But also if you have questions or even if you have a special request. I feel terrible. Somebody asked me for months of the year, and I have the files sitting on my iPad, and I just haven't put them over yet. So mental to-do list. I need to put it in my Keep, my to-do list. Put the Keep things in the Keep. Let's talk about Google Classroom and how you can customize that and how you can make life a little bit easier, because this is something definitely very relevant to us that we're using all the time right now. First of all, customizing your Google Classroom banners or headers, I find super helpful because I like to make each of my classrooms like distinct from one another. Last year I was teaching art and technology classes, so it was important for me to kind of just visually on my dashboard be able to like know which class was which. Also, if you're doing multiple grade levels, if you're doing multiple class periods. So another thing that I used to do is I would color code 6th grade tech one way, color code 7th grade tech or 8th grade art another way. So by changing your header at the top of your Google Classroom, it gives you that quick visual cue in your dashboard of what, in case you haven't caught on, color coding is a big thing with me. Now, another thing you can do if you want to get fancy. So beginner stage, color code it. Advanced stage, you can get extra fancy with your banners, and you can do things like making a GIF as your banner. There are a couple ways to do that. My friend Alfonso shows it with Screencastify in this video, and then there's another video here I found on YouTube about using Creator Studio or Tall Tweets to create a GIF from Google Slides, where like each slide is a frame in your GIF. You can also just do custom, like uploading your own image. So you can see I did things like used Bitmojis, maybe put the year or the social media information. If you have a class Instagram or something, that would go on there. But you can get as creative as you want. This is a whole video explaining the how and what and where to click and the sizes and things like that. That's all here to go into more depth and detail. And it loves to play my video when I hit forward.
All right, so you want to know.
Also, those are proof that I don't always wear makeup. So if you watch those. All right, so further diving into Google Classroom, our classwork stream has a lot of opportunity for organizing, and it's just finding what works for you as a teacher in your class that's going to be kind of important. So I'm showing you a couple different examples how you want to use your topics in Google Classroom. So when you post an assignment in Google Classroom, you get like these little posts, right, with the little assignment icon next to it. But you can also give assignments a topic. So when I was in person and I was teaching art, I love to organize my topic by what we were doing. You know, oh, we're drawing, we're painting, we're doing sculptures or clay, you know. I like to use emojis as little visual cues. So drawing had the pencil, sculpture had the little, you know, the little guy sculpture head, painting had the little paint palette. So it was fun, but easy to find it in a list and pick it out. Now that we're remote, I find that I have to do things like, well, this is elementary too. I do this week and I do past weeks. I see kids once a week by grade level, and they need to be able to find their stuff fast. So the one with the arrow is this week. This is the one that you want. And then at the end of the week, it gets dragged down into past weeks, and then all the past week stuff is there. I've also seen teachers, I wonder if I have it here. Do I have a thing popping up? I think I do. Oh, I did not. Okay, I've also seen teachers where they take this and they break it down into weeks. So your topic might be the week of blank, and then you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you know, and then week of, and then that date, Monday through Friday. I've also heard of teachers that use topics with the month, and they'll put the assignments for like that month on there. And then the other thing that you might see on this particular listing is that my assignments are numbered. I love numbering assignments in Google Classroom, because then if you use a separate grading system like PowerSchool, you put that same number in PowerSchool. That way when a student says, well, what's this assignment that I'm missing? Well, that's assignment 6. And you go into Google Classroom, assignment 6, and they match up. So that is like, again, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I didn't think about that, but that sounds so helpful. So definitely that was a middle school thing for me. In elementary, it's this week, past weeks, keeping it simple. The less clicks, the better. And then in remote learning, I have a couple other just little tips here. I do post all of my videos to YouTube. If you don't want them to be public, you can make them like private, or you can make them like unlisted, like only people with the link can find. Because I used to do like just weekly updates to my students, you know, just I was teaching asynchronous at the time. So having a weekly video for them to view was super helpful. And I got to like kind of check in with them, and they got to, you know, see me face to a name, you know, what I look like, what I sound like, kind of thing. There's a video here where I show how I use Google Classroom and like a daily check-in sheet, and how I found a way that I can view them all together as thumbnails all at once. So because this isn't always relevant for everybody, it's here. I won't make you sit through it. Also, I'm looking at like 10 minutes left, and I still have stuff I want to talk to you guys about. So, and then as far as YouTube goes, there is that trick that you may have seen online. It was going around Twitter. If you use a hyphen after the T in YouTube in the video's URL, you can open that like no cookies ad-free view. That is something I use a lot in elementary school, because you never know what's going to pop up on the YouTubes, you know. So, all right, more things. Google Slides. Oh, do we need to talk about Classroom at all, or are we feeling good? Dr. Alexander, are we good?
I think we're feeling good.
Awesome, cool. The other thing I want to say is I know I also have a tendency to like just throw a lot at people. I don't expect that like people are going to remember all of it. I expect that people are just going to like in one ear out the other until you hear something that resonates, and then you're like, oh, that's a good one, and you write that down, and then you just listen. Oh, there's another good one. You know, it's not all for you all at once. It's what works, take it. What doesn't, leave it. So, if you've not been using Slides Mania, that is a great website that I recommend. I actually had the opportunity to create a template with Paula from Slides Mania. So if you've ever seen the Doodles template, those are my drawings. I'm very proud of it, very excited about it. Anytime I see someone using it, especially if they don't even know it's my design, and I see it online, I get so excited. I'm like, oh, because yeah, that's a thing. So Slides themes, free, PowerPoint and Google Slides for educators and business people, but mostly we're all educators. So theme templates, weekly unit templates, digital notebook templates, HyperDocs teacher planner templates. There is so much stuff on there if you haven't checked it out. Like when I bring this up, I always feel like, oh, everybody's heard of this already. But if there's someone who hasn't, you need this. It's life-changing. So do that. Check out Slides Mania, Slides templates. And then one thing I've been digging into lately with Google Slides is I've been interested in creating my own like kind of slide templates. I've been messing around with the master slide. Now, if you're super comfortable with Google Slides, this is for you. If you're not super comfortable with Google Slides, just don't mess with this. But this is more of a like intermediate advanced thing if you're interested in making your own templates and things. If you go to Slide Edit Master, you get all these options where you can customize your own theme by creating backgrounds and choosing colors and setting like a default font and style for like anytime you have a text, a title, or you have like a subheading, or if you want to create like a text box on a slide that kids have to fill out and you want to like automatically like pop up, you can get into some pretty cool customizing stuff here. So this is just something to be aware of. It's something I've only recently got into. but it is for definitely like intermediate advanced users, but it's a thing and it's awesome if you do. All right, and I want to talk about graphics a little bit because a lot of this is all dependent on graphics. So something like Slides Mania lets you, use what's already there because you don't need to be, intimidated by like, well, I'm not an artist. Don't talk to the art teacher about that. Everyone can be an artist. Don't say that. Graphics are fun to create. It's important to know the difference between the file types though. So JPEG files or JPG, those are the files that you have when you don't have a transparent background. If you've ever taken a picture from online and tried to put it in the slides and it has that white box around it, that's a JPEG file. It doesn't have that transparency. If you want a file that can have a transparent background, you want a PNG file that will retain that like background. So if you're doing a Google search, sometimes it's nice to search for PNG or search for transparent. Just know that that's the file type that you'll have. A GIF file, every time I talk about GIFs, I get somebody that's like, well, what do you mean like a GIF, like an animated image? GIFs are inserted like an image file. It's an image file, not a video file. So you can insert it anywhere you can insert an image, but they're animated. And then lastly, PDF files would be like if you wanted to save your Google Doc, but you wanted people to not mess with like the formatting. If you wanted people to print stuff out, saving something as a PDF is helpful for that. Sometimes you have to convert these file types. So if you have something that's a PDF and you're like, I want to make this as a slides background, you will probably have to convert it to a JPEG first because a PDF is not an image file. So it won't insert the same way. If you have something and you're like, well, this is a PDF and I want to use it as a digital worksheet and I want to put it as my background, you will probably have to, unless you're using a different tool, especially for that, you would probably have to convert it to an image file. So that's just real basic computer stuff for those of you confused about file types. It's helpful to know because there are tools that you can use to kind of help with these sorts of things. So for example, the white box around an image. I know to some people it's not a big deal, but to me it's like a huge pet peeve when I see it. I'm like, no, that or like watermarks because it's a stock photo. First, don't do that. If you need to remove a background from something, there is a website called remove.bg and it will remove the background for you for free. It's amazing. And then unscreen works just like remove.bg, only it works on the free version, works on 5-second video clips or GIF files. So in this case, this is an actual GIF of my son dancing. He would be horrified if he knew that I was using this right now. But he was standing in front of my mother's like television set in the wall. So I took it into unscreen and it like took the background away. It has mixed success rates. Like you can still see like some of the wall like down here, but it's pretty fun if you want to make GIFs of yourself and use them as like reaction GIFs on your, students' projects. Like how funny would that be to like have like you going like, hey, and like thumbs up. Like it's just fun. I like to do weird fun things. So if you want to create graphics, you don't have to have any super fancy tools. You can use Google Slides and Google Draw to create your graphics, just like we saw in Google Keep. You just use those slides. You can use basic elements to create graphics to use elsewhere. For example, this is the scribble tool in Google Slides. If you've never used the scribble tool before, I just drew a line, made it really fat, and then brought it behind the text, and it like gave you that effect. So there are like little simple things you can do. I made a whole series, a whole playlist for elementary students on how to use Google Draw and Google Slides to make graphics. So if this is useful for you or your students, please share, use it. It's a great thing. One of my favorite tricks that I just learned recently, again, obvious thing I probably should have known, is that if you hold down the shift button and you use your arrow keys to move a shape in Google Slides, it moves it in teeny tiny increments. Because normally if you use your arrow tool to move a shape, it goes like jump, 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 and then you're like, oh, I needed it right in between there. Hold down your shift key and it does it in even smaller increments. I was like, whoa, mind blown. So again, something I probably should have known, but I didn't, and it was life-changing for me. Oh, it's gonna try.
Hello, let's talk about using Google Slides.
Let's go to the next slide. All right. Oh, and then Canva. If you haven't used Canva for creating graphics, this is a great site because it gives you templates that you kind of start with. I use them for my YouTube thumbnails. So you can see the Gmail email signatures here. Canva for Education is free. This links out to information about it. But you can do all sorts of graphics if you have like, if you want to make thumbnails, if you want to make like backgrounds for slides, if you want to make, you know, something for a newsletter, if you want to design a logo, if you want to make pieces for like a website, you want to make elements for that, or Instagram graphics about Spirit Day coming up this week or whatever. You know, Canva is great because it will make graphics for all these things, and there's a lot of content already done that you can kind of drag and drop in. So if you're intimidated by making your own stuff, that's a helpful thing. And then, oh, this is the same thing from Jen Hall about saving Bitmoji images to Google Keep for the transparent background. Now, I have to take my Bitmojis into a secondary site so that I can fix the hair. So if you're wondering, how did she get that? It's a whole nother site, a whole nother layer. But if you haven't used Bitmoji yet, I don't know, maybe you're living under a rock, but but that's there, and it's pretty cool, and it's just funny because they look like you, and kids think that's funny. And then I know I want to show you the iPad thing. Okay, so people always ask how I do the hand-drawn stuff. This is just FYI. I'm not going to teach it to you right now, but I use an iPad Pro, I use an Apple Pencil, and I use a program called Procreate. So if you are interested in doing more advanced, like hand-drawn things, this is what I use to get that sort of stuff. So if you start small and you're using Canva and Google Slides and you want to build up, this is what I use. So I just like to tell people because they always ask. And then that's just a time lapse of my drawing. And then this is where I do Q&A, but we are so close on time. I'm just going to give you my last few thoughts, and then we'll take it over to Dr. Desiree.
We do have one question, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. So all my contact information is here. I do have a blog, and I have a YouTube channel. I have a couple of YouTube channels, but Reset EDU is my channel. That's my innovator project, where it's specifically for teachers to talk about how to, I don't know, how to make teaching better and things in teaching that we can improve and stuff you can do. And I recently illustrated my first book. It's a children's book through EduMatch Publishing. It's called Coding to Kindness. It's for early primary students. And if you want to check that out, it's really fun as well. So that's there. Here's all the other information about me. And then I think that's it. Oh yeah, that's the Reset stuff. So that's me.
Can you actually show how to make the folder on the bookmark bar?
All right, so share. So here's my Google Drive right now. Say that I want to take, what do I not have saved up there? Illustration work. I want to save that up in my bookmarks bar. I would right click on this folder so that I would first get the like share link or get link. So I would get link. It doesn't matter if it doesn't have to be like public and shared with other people. This bookmark is just for me. So even if it's only my folder that only I see, that's all it has to be. I'm not sharing with anybody else. I'm just bookmarking it for myself. So I grab, sorry, my computer's working very slowly. It gives me the link. I copy the link. Then I go up to my address bar. Come on, address bar. Spinning wheel of death. Okay, so I post the address in my address bar. So this is where I am now. So I can just hit the star to bookmark it like I would any other website. And my computer is like painfully slow right now. But it'll pop up and it'll say like you're saving it in the bookmarks bar or in the bookmarks. There we go. Bookmark added. You can like give it your name. You can put it in a folder. I can tell it, just put it in the bookmarks bar. And of course it's taking forever to do that. And then when I hit done, it now pops up on there. Bye-bye. If there's something that I showed you and you're like, yeah, I got this. And then you sit down later and you're like, wait, what was that again? Please, please, please don't hesitate to like at me on Twitter or DM me, because I do really like to help people, and it'll probably just take me 2 seconds, you know? And if you have the question, probably other people do as well. So like, really don't hesitate. I always tell people, I'm like, reach out, and then like, usually nobody does. So yeah.
No, it's perfect. Bing. And thank you so much, Jen. We appreciate it. And we appreciate just your willingness to just give. So thank you for that, because it really does make a difference. So we appreciate it.
Well, good.